You know, it's one of the greatest mysteries of Hollywood. Did a Canadian tax break movie lead to the breakup of Lee Majors, the star of the movie, and Farrah Fawcett, who allegedly was cheating on Lee with Ryan O'Neal around the same time of this movie's filming? Well, we'll leave that for the Hollywood gossip mongers, but we want to talk about this movie. Would have made Lee Majors a star, but it didn't do anything in the box office. The Last Chase. Now, it was filmed in 79, came out in 81, and was part of the tax break movies of the 70s and 80s across Canada. Now, a dystopian science fiction film was directed by Martin Burke, who was also a producer of the film and produced by Argosy Films. Besides Majors, created Chris Makepeace of Meatballs fame, and Burgess Meredith co-starred in a futuristic scenario about a former racing driver who resembles his old Porsche and drives to California in a world where cars and motor vehicles of all kinds have been outlawed by the authorities. Now, it's in the year 2011. The United States is a police state. A large percentage of the population was wiped out by a viral pandemic 20 years earlier. Amidst the resulting chaos and general panic, democracy collapsed and a new cabal has seized power. After moving the seat of government to Boston, the new dictatorship outlawed private ownership and use of all automobiles, boats, and aircraft on a pretext that an even bigger crisis, the depletion of the fossil fuel supplies, was imminent. The loss of other personal freedoms followed, and a mass surveillance system now monitors private citizens' every move. Now, in Boston, Franklin Hart, the former race car driver who lost his family to the plague, is the spokesman for the mass transit system. Publicly, he deplores the selfishness of private vehicle ownership and exalts the virtues of public transportation. Privately, he is very able to continue his contempt for the oppressive autocratic bureaucracy and a dismal party line that he's compelled to promote. Years before, as private vehicles were being confiscated, Hart sequestered his race car, an orange Porsche 917 Can-Am Roadster, in a secret compartment beneath his basement. Over the ensuing years, he has gradually restored it to drivable condition in hopes of driving across the country to free California, an independent territory that seceded from the rest of totalitarian America. The young electronic wizard Ring McCarthy deduces Hart's plan, and Hart reluctantly agrees to bring him along on the journey. Now, the surveillance system catches Hart vaulting a junkyard fence, and Hart and McCarthy eventually flee Boston in the Roadster as police close in. Although gas has not been sold for 20 years, Hart has access to a virtual inexhaustible supply. The residual fuel remaining at the bottom of subterranean storage tanks in every abandoned gas station in the country. He uses a portable hand pump to refuel from these tanks as necessary. Now, news of the Duro's daring escape spreads across the country. The government, represented by a Gestapo-like figure named Hawkins, watches with growing concern as the public takes notice and cheers Hart on. Calls for a return to personal autonomy and democracy are heard for the first time in 20 years. Hart, by the authorities, must be stopped, but ground pursuit is impossible, as the electric golf carts used by the police are incapable of chasing down a race car. Now, Hawkins ordered J.G. Williams, a retired Air Force pilot, to track down and destroy Hart in his car in a Korean War vintage F-86 Sabre. He locates and strafes the car, wounding Hart. A community of armed, mostly Native American rebels, takes Hart and McCarthy in, hides the car, and treats Hart's wounds. A team of mercenaries soon locates and attacks the enclave, although Hart and McCarthy escape during the firefight. Back in the open road, Williams once again has the Roadster in his crosshairs, but now he's having second thoughts. As an old rebel himself, he's starting to identify with Hart's situation. Prodded by Hawkins, Williams initiates several more confrontations, but each time he backs off to Hart's and McCarthy's bewilderment. McCarthy rigs a radio receiver and listens in on Williams' cockpit radio comm, then establishes a dialogue with him using Morse code via handheld spotlight. Now, eventually Williams confides that he's sympathetic to their cause. But Hawkins is also monitoring Williams' radio communications, and after learning of his change of heart, orders the activation of a Cold War-era laser cannon at a position ahead of Hart's route. Williams attempts to warn Hart, but his radio communications have been jammed. Williams releases external fuel tanks ahead of the car, hoping the inverter will stop the car short of the cannon's range, but Hart, assuming Williams has charge of change of allegiance again, drives on. So at this part in the denouement, William strafes the laser but cannot pierce its heavy armor, so he sacrifices himself in a kamikaze-style attack, destroying his jet and the laser installation. His sacrifice allows Hart and McCarthy to drive on towards California, where they are welcome as heroes. Other actors and actresses in the show, including Alexandra Stewart as Eudora, Diana DeKeely as Santana, Harvey Atkin, that great Canadian character actor, as Judd, Moses Niebuhr of Much Music fame as reporter, and Paul Amato as a soldier on the roadblock. Now, The Last Chase began photography on October 9, 1979, with production wrapping on December 4th, 1979. The film's locations, including locales in both the States and Canada. It was filmed in Tucson, Flagstaff, Marana, Sedona, and Phoenix, Arizona, along with the Sonoran Desert. The film was also shot in Port Credit, Caledon, Toronto, and Mosport International Raceway, Clarington, and Durham, all in Ontario. The aircraft used in The Last Chase was the Canadian CL-13 Sabre MK6 1600 N1039C. Film historian and reviewer Leonard Maltin, in his movie guide for 2013, considered The Last Chase a flimsy drama that reeks of Reaganomics. The review and TV guide simply says the performances are adequate, but the script fails to balance the car chases with interesting characters. Now, it was originally released on VHS and CD by Vestron, which is part of Lionsgate. It was re-released in DVD on May 2011 via Code Red. Now, again, the car is a modified 73 Porsche 9730 Can-Am Spyder. Now, none of the promotional posters of VCR cover designs correctly show the designs of the jet. Now, there were approximately 3 cars used in production to use various motors depending on the work required by the vehicle in a particular scene. Molds were made of a Porsche 917 owned by a dealership located in California. It is unknown if any of the cars survive filming and where they might be now. Now, it was hopes that this movie was going to make Lee into a big screen movie star. But with all the drama off screen, with the alleged and later confirmed affair between Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett, really tore away any momentum that he had, because people were more interested in what was going off screen than on screen. Now, the original script by Christopher Crowe had started out as a novel back in the 70s. He had outlined the story while he was living in New York after returning home. Crowe spent 6 months writing and the first 35 pages of his novel. After looking at the novel, actor Mario Rocuzzo, who was friends with Crowe's sister, had suggested that he should do the story as a screenplay. Now, he spent 3 to 8 months crafting a first draft. Now, the lead role was initially, get this, written with William Holden in mind. A little bit too old and a little bit too drunk in my mind. But the movie, I've never seen this movie, and some people tell me it's pretty good. Now, if you've seen this movie, want to leave a comment, tell me your thoughts on it. But I think Lee Majors, in a major Canadian dystopian science fiction movie, if it was done in the right way, I think the plot itself seems quite interesting. And you know the reason why I found this, because CBC did an anniversary article this week on the tax break movies of the mid-70s to the early 80s. Of course, Chris Makepeace and Meatballs. This was one movie a lot of people thought it was going to go places, but it didn't go any place but, markdown VHS rental places throughout North America. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can't give this movie a rating because for what I've seen with the plot, it's quite interesting. So if you've seen the movie, let me know what you think. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our latest in our CanCon vintage movie reviews, or what we call informational podcast. Let us know what you think with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.